The compounding myth, why your monthly investment might be failing you. There's a chart you've probably seen before. It starts small, almost flat, in the bottom left corner. Then, somewhere around year 15 or 20, it bends. The line curves upward, steeper and steeper, until by year 30, it's nearly vertical. A small monthly investment turning into hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions. You've seen the chart. You may have even run the numbers on your own situation, opened an account, set up automatic contributions, done everything the chart implied you should do. And then, a few years in, you checked your balance and thought, is this it? That feeling isn't a mistake. It isn't impatience. It's a signal, and it's pointing at something real. The chart isn't lying to you, but it is leaving something out, something that changes how the entire picture works. Here's what's missing. The S&P 500 has averaged roughly 10% annually over the last century. Adjusted for inflation, closer to 7%. Every number in this video uses 8%. Conservative, realistic, not a best-case projection designed to make a curve look dramatic. At $50 a month, 8% annual return. After one full year of consistent investing, you've earned approximately $5 in returns. $5. After 10 years of never missing a single contribution, your account holds roughly $9,200. Of that, almost $6,000 is money you deposited yourself. Less than $3,200 came from compounding. In an entire decade, after 30 years of perfect, unbroken discipline at $50 a month, $74,500. The Bureau of Labor Statistics put average annual U.S. household expenditures at roughly $77,000 in 2023. Your 30 years of iron discipline can't cover 12 months of average American life. Now run the same math at $400 a month. Same 8%. Same 30 years. $596,000. The interest rate didn't change. The time frame didn't change. The only variable was the monthly deposit, and the outcome moved by $500,000. That gap between $74,500 and $596,000 is not explained by the chart. The chart shows you the curve. It doesn't show you the threshold. It doesn't tell you that compound interest has two completely distinct phases with different rules, different priorities, and a completely different relationship with your monthly contribution. Almost every piece of financial advice you've encountered treats those two phases as one continuous process. Same language, same logic, same framework applied across 30 years as if the mechanics never shift. They do shift, dramatically, and understanding where and why is worth more than any return rate optimization you'll ever find. Because right now, depending on your balance, you may be in a phase where the market's performance is almost irrelevant to your outcome, where the only number that actually moves your financial future is the one you control completely. What that number is, and why almost everyone chasing returns is solving the wrong problem. That's where we're going next. Think about how a turbocharger works. A turbocharged engine uses its own exhaust, waste energy, the byproduct of combustion, to spin a turbine that compresses incoming air and forces it back into the cylinders. The waste product becomes fuel. Output becomes input. The system amplifies itself. You recognize that structure. A feedback loop where growth generates more growth. That's another name for compound interest. But here's what most people were never told about turbos. They don't work at low RPM. Below a certain engine speed, there isn't enough exhaust pressure to spin the turbine. The turbo is physically present, bolted to the engine block, a real part of the system. But it isn't doing anything you can feel. Every bit of power comes from exactly what you put in. Nothing more. Then, at a specific RPM threshold, the boost engages. Power delivery changes completely. The engine produces significantly more than the fuel input alone should justify. The feedback loop has activated. Your investment portfolio does this exact thing. Before your balance reaches a certain size, you are the engine. Your monthly contributions are the combustion. Your returns are technically cycling back, technically compounding, but not at enough pressure to move anything meaningful in your real financial life. The turbo is there. It's running. You just can't feel it yet. Here's what that looks like in actual numbers. At 8% annual return, your portfolio generates roughly $67 a month for every $10,000 invested. That's the math behind the curve. At $10,000 in total assets, compounding contributes $67 a month to your balance. If you're contributing $200 a month yourself, you're providing 75% of your own growth. The market is providing 25%. At $50,000, compounding contributes roughly $333 a month. The split is shifting, but contributions still lead. At $100,000, compounding generates approximately $667 a month. For the first time, if your monthly contribution is below that number, the market is doing more work than you are. The feedback loop has engaged. The boost has kicked in. That threshold, somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000 in total invested assets, is where Phase 1 ends and Phase 2 begins. Before that crossing, contributions are the strategy. Compounding is the reward you collect afterward. And this is where the timeline starts to matter in ways the chart never makes explicit. At $200 a month, you cross $100,000 somewhere around year 17. You spend the first 17 years of your investing life entirely in Phase 1. Every dollar of growth coming primarily from what you manually deposit each month. Phase 2 compounding, the part that feels effortless, the part where the math takes over. You get roughly 13 years of it before a standard 30-year horizon closes. At $400 a month, you cross that same threshold around year 14, 3 years earlier, which means 3 additional years of Phase 2 compounding running at full power before the clock stops. 3 years sounds modest. The math disagrees. Those 3 extra years of Phase 2 compounding account for tens of thousands of dollars in terminal wealth. Not because the return rate changed, not because you found a better fund, but because the feedback loop had more time to run. Every month you spend in Phase 1 below the threshold isn't lost. It's necessary. You're getting the engine up to the RPM where the boost engages. That's the entire job of Phase 1. But the faster you cross that threshold, the more fuel you put into the engine early, the longer Phase 2 has to run at full power. Which brings us to the most expensive mistake Phase 1 investors make. When the balance grows slowly, when the returns feel invisible, the instinct is almost universal. Something must be wrong with the return rate. So people start looking for a better fund, a higher yield strategy, something with more upside. The diagnosis feels logical. The math says it's the wrong problem entirely. When Phase 1 frustration hits, the move almost everyone makes is the same. They look at their balance. They look at their return rate. And they conclude, I need a better number in that second column. Higher yield, more aggressive allocation, a different fund, a different strategy, a different vehicle entirely. It feels like the logical response. The balance isn't growing fast enough, and return rate is the variable most financial content talks about. So that's the lever people reach for. Here's what the arithmetic actually shows. $200 a month at 8% for 10 years, $36,800. Now double the return rate. Not incrementally, double it. From 8% to 16%, sustained for a full decade. This is a number most institutional fund managers in the world don't consistently hit. PIMCO, Fidelity, the major quantitative funds, very few sustain 16% annualized over 10 years. But assume you manage it. $200 a month at 16% for 10 years, approximately $52,200. That's $15,400 more. It sounds meaningful until you understand what achieving 16% actually requires. You are taking on volatility that drops your portfolio 40 to 50% in bad years. You are making active allocation decisions in an environment where Dalbar, the financial analytics firm that has tracked actual investor behavior since the 1980s, consistently finds that the average equity fund investor underperforms the S&P 500 by 2 to 3% annually over long periods. The primary cause, selling during market lows, chasing recent performance, making decisions that feel correct in the moment and cost compounding years in the aftermath. The 16% theoretical return, in real human hands, tends to produce something closer to 8 or 9%, arrived at via several genuinely painful portfolio events most investors aren't equipped to hold through without reacting. Now try a different variable entirely. Keep the boring 8%. Keep the same index fund you already own. Just increase your monthly contribution from $200 to $350. $350 a month at 8% for 10 years, approximately $64,000. More money, less risk. No volatile years requiring discipline you may not have at the exact moment the market demands it. No trading fees, no tax events, no strategy pivots. The contribution increase, same fund, same return rate, just more fuel, outperforms the doubled return rate by nearly $12,000 over a decade. And it does it without a single active decision after the initial setup. This isn't a general principle. It's arithmetic. In phase 1, when your balance is small, the percentage return operates on a small base. The output is small regardless of the rate. Increasing the base, what you deposit, moves the needle in ways that chasing yield cannot match until your balance is large enough for percentages to produce output you can actually feel. And fees work the same mechanism in reverse. A 1% annual advisory fee on a portfolio earning 8% leaves you at 7% net. Over 30 years, $100,000 at 8% grows to approximately $1,006,000. At 7%, it grows to approximately $761,000. The fee costs you $245,000, not in direct charges, but in the compounding that fee's absence would have generated across 3 decades. In phase 1, when your account holds $16,000, that fee is $160 a year. It registers as trivial. The damage only becomes visible in phase 2, when you do the backward math and realize the cost was accumulating silently the entire time. The wrong diagnosis, return rate, is the problem. Sends investors toward complexity, volatility, and active decision-making at precisely the phase when simplicity and consistency produce the highest returns. Not as philosophy, as documented behavioral outcome. The right diagnosis is quieter and less interesting to talk about. The lever that moves your phase 1 outcome is not the market. It's what you deposit. And there are exactly 3 mechanisms that move that number in ways that don't require a complete restructuring of your financial life. That's where we're going in the final block. There's an inversion at the center of long-term investing that almost nobody states plainly. The years that feel the least impressive, the early ones, the phase 1 years, when balances grow slowly and returns feel invisible, are the most financially valuable years of your entire compounding journey. A dollar invested in month 1 of a 30-year portfolio at 8% annually becomes approximately $10.60 at the end. That same dollar invested in year 25 compounds for 5 remaining years and becomes approximately $1.47. Your earliest dollars are worth more than 7 times your later dollars in raw compounding power. Which means every month you invest below the threshold, every raise your lifestyle absorbed before you redirected it, every contribution you left at the same number you typed into an enrollment form 3 years ago, you are not losing small amounts of money. You are spending the most expensive dollars in your entire portfolio, the ones with the longest runway, the ones that will compound for 30 years instead of 5. This is the inversion. Phase 1 doesn't feel important. Mathematically, it's the only phase where your decisions carry maximum weight. 3 mechanisms move your contribution level without requiring a complete overhaul of how you live. The first is contribution right-sizing. The most common reason people invest less than they should isn't inability. It's institutional inertia. They set a contribution amount when they opened the account and never updated it. Income has grown. Fixed expenses have shifted. The autopay still reads whatever number they entered into an enrollment form years ago, because updating it requires 15 minutes that never get scheduled. The action is specific. Log in today and increase your monthly contribution by $50. Not a life-altering budget restructure. 1 login, 1 change. Over 20 years at 8%, that single $50 increase compounds to approximately $29,400 from 1 15-minute decision. Then set a recurring calendar reminder every January to review the number again. You don't need to decide in advance how much to increase it. You just need the annual review to exist, so the years when a raise arrived and quietly dissolved into lifestyle don't go unnoticed indefinitely. The second is income growth redirection. Raises happen, bonuses happen, tax refunds happen, and in nearly every case, within 90 days of receiving more income, the lifestyle has absorbed it. Not through deliberate decisions. The money diffuses into slightly more convenient habits, slightly newer versions of things already owned. Nobody decided to spend more. It just happened. The mechanism that works, And this is observable in actual portfolio outcomes, not theoretical projections, is redirecting 50% of every net income increase directly into investments before Lifestyle calculates that it has new budget. Your standard of living still improves on the other 50%. Your threshold timeline accelerates. Both things happen simultaneously. The critical variable is speed. The longer the gap between receiving new income and executing the investment decision, the lower the probability the decision gets made at all. Same-day automation eliminates the decision entirely. Your future self, handed new money without prior instructions, will spend it. Your current self, making the decision now and automating it, will invest it. The third is life event contribution resets. There are predictable moments in most financial lives when a significant recurring expense ends permanently. A car loan paid off, a student loan cleared, a mortgage refinanced at a meaningfully lower rate. Each of these moments creates a window of unallocated monthly cash flow that doesn't yet have a destination. The average American car payment ran just over $700 a month in 2025, according to Experian data. When that loan ends, $700 a month is suddenly free. Most of it disappears into Lifestyle within 90 days, not through conscious decisions, but through the quiet expansion of spending that fills available space. An intentional investor executes a contribution increase the day the final payment clears, not when they get around to it. That specific day, before the Lifestyle knows the money is free. Redirect $300 to $400 into investments. Let the remaining amount improve daily comfort. The threshold moves forward. Nothing feels like deprivation. This is architecture, not willpower. You design the decision in advance, at a moment when no actual cash is in your hand and no competing option is visible. The decision your current self makes in the abstract is the one that executes correctly. The decision your future self makes while holding newly freed cash flow, standing next to a car dealership, or a home renovation idea, or a vacation that's been delayed for 3 years, almost never goes to investments. Here is what this looks like across a realistic timeline. Starting at 38, with 27 years until 65. At $150 a month, the terminal balance at 65 is approximately $121,000. At $400 a month, an increase of $250, less than half the average American car payment. The terminal balance is approximately $337,000. 3 times the outcome from less than 3 times the contribution, because crossing the threshold earlier gives phase 2 compounding more years to run. At $600 a month, the terminal balance reaches approximately $537,000. The difference between $121,000 and $537,000 is not a different fund, a better market, or a more sophisticated strategy. It is $250 extra dollars a month redirected before Lifestyle absorbs it, and a threshold crossed earlier, giving the feedback loop more runway. 3 specific actions to take with what you learned today. Calculate your current contribution to return ratio. Pull up last month's investment statement. Find the return line, only what the market added, not what you deposited. Divide that by your monthly contribution. If contributions account for more than 70% of your monthly account growth, you are in phase 1. Your priority is contribution growth, not fund research, not rebalancing schedules. The most valuable hour you can spend this week is finding an extra $50 a month. Set your threshold date. Using any compound interest calculator, find the year your portfolio is projected to cross $100,000 at your current balance and contribution rate. Then ask, what monthly contribution gets me there 2 years earlier? Run the math on what 2 extra years of phase 2 compounding produces in your final balance. That number will be larger than virtually anything a return rate optimization strategy could realistically generate. Pre-decide your next income event. When is your next raise, bonus, tax refund, or loan payoff realistically arriving? Write the approximate date. Write the expected amount. Write the specific percentage you will redirect to investments the moment it lands. Make that decision now, before the money exists, because the decision made in the abstract today, while there's no cash in your hand and no competing option in front of you, is the one that actually executes. The investors who crossed the threshold didn't find a better market. They figured out which phase they were in. They got the engine up to speed. And then they did something that looks, from the outside, like almost nothing, while the math ran.